All right, so today we're going to dive into something called a systems portfolio.
Uh-huh.
And the main source we have for this is this document we found online called PMA-281 plus portfolio plus hex plus chart plus approved plus public plus release.pdf.
All right.
And so we're just going to kind of try to figure out what exactly is going on with this thing.
Yeah, so like when you think about like a systems portfolio,
Mhm.
right? It's kind of like uh taking a step back,
Okay.
getting that big strategic view of like everything that's going on operationally
Mm-hmm.
and really trying to see, are there different systems that are working together? Are there overlaps? Are there things we can kind of like glean from how it's all laid out?
Okay, yeah.
Especially in this case, this is public, so we're probably not going to get down into the weeds,
Right.
but it should give us a pretty good general idea.
Yeah, I mean, just from the title alone, right? PMA 281 sounds like it's probably some sort of like management office or something.
Probably, yeah, some kind of program office.
Yeah, and then portfolio, obviously, meaning we're talking about multiple systems here.
Exactly.
Not just one system, but a whole collection.
Right. A whole bunch of things they're looking at.
Yeah, and then hex chart makes me think they've got this all visualized.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Probably using hexagons or something,
Yeah, that's a classic way to visualize complex relationships.
Yeah, right. And so probably you've got each hexagon is a different system, and then maybe the way they're connected
Yeah, exactly.
shows, if they're sharing data or
Exactly. Yeah, maybe they're functionally linked or they use similar tech.
right, or they're part of the same program, or who knows.
Yeah, it's like a map, giving you that big picture view.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that they put this out there publicly. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's gonna mean something, right?
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that they chose to release this publicly
Yeah.
because it definitely signals, even if we're not sharing the nitty-gritty details,
Right.
they are trying to convey some kind of strategic message
Yeah.
about the scope and the interconnectedness of their systems.
Right.
And I think that that's valuable for, anybody in any field, really.
Okay.
Even if you don't have all the specifics, just having that high-level context
Right.
can be really helpful.
So I'm just picturing, this hex chart, right? For those of you listening at home.
Yeah.
Imagine like a network of these hexagons all linked together.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we don't know what each individual system does,
Right.
the fact that they're all together in this portfolio means that they're all important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're all considered important and they're all related in some way.
Right. It's all very deliberate.
It speaks to a much more holistic way of managing things.
Yeah.
Instead of just looking at these systems in isolation,
Yeah.
you start to get this bigger picture of how they all work together to achieve larger goals.
Yeah. And that's huge, right? Because then you can start to see
It is huge.
the dependencies.
Yeah.
Where one system relies on another.
Absolutely.
Or, maybe where things could be integrated.
Right. You start to see those opportunities.
Yeah. And then the fact that PMA 281 is the one putting this portfolio together implies that there's some shared mission here.
Right.
All these different systems are probably contributing to some set of objectives.
Yeah.
And so if you see like a cluster of hexagons,
Well, yeah.
what could that tell us?
Well, that could indicate that those systems are like tightly integrated.
Mm-hmm.
They're sharing resources. Maybe they're even part of the same program.
Right.
On the other hand, if you see a hexagon that's kind of off by itself,
Mm-hmm.
that could suggest that it's got a more independent function.
Yeah.
And thinking about this, in your own work, right?
Okay.
How are different projects or initiatives grouped together?
Right.
Does that grouping reveal anything about like the underlying strategic priorities?
Yeah. So what does all this mean, for the average person out there?
Well, I think what we can take away from this
Okay.
is that managing multiple systems is complex.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of interconnectedness,
Mm-hmm.
and you need to think strategically about how to oversee them effectively.
And just the fact that they created this document, right?
Yeah.
And put it in this format
Yeah.
really highlights,
That's the key takeaway.
how important it is to see the big picture.
Yeah, to understand how all the pieces fit together.
Right. So to wrap up this deep dive into the PMA 281 plus portfolio plus hex plus chart plus proved plus release.pdf. Basically, we're looking at a high-level strategic overview
Exactly.
of a bunch of different systems that are managed by PMA 281.
Most likely visualizing a hex chart to show those connections.
Well, right.
And so the question for you is this: When you look at this kind of overview,
Yeah.
what kind of interdependencies and long-term implications
Right.
can you see between those systems?
Okay.
That might not be immediately obvious. Think
No.
about that big picture view. That's what's really powerful here.
All right. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
See you next time.